That night, Elena lay on the impossibly comfortable bed in her assigned quarters, staring at the organic ceiling that pulsed with a gentle bioluminescence designed to promote restful sleep. Despite the facility's best efforts to keep her calm and comfortable, her mind raced with plans and possibilities. The wall chimed softly, and Elena sat up expecting to see a guard or another veiled or official. Instead, the barrier shimmered and revealed Thane, his usual golden skin appearing pale with exhaustion and stress. "We need to move quickly," he said without preamble, stepping into the room as the wall reformed behind him. "The Council has accelerated the invasion timeline. The Defense Fleet launches in 36 hours. Elena was on her feet immediately. "How did you get past the security systems?" "The Remnant has been preparing for this day for decades. We have resources and capabilities the Council doesn't suspect." Thane moved to the center of the room and activated what Elena recognized as a more advanced version of the signal scrambler Arlen had used earlier. "But our window for action is closing rapidly. What can we do? Even if we could reach our ship, the gate is still under Defense Fleet control." "Your ship isn't the only way off this planet," Thane replied. "The Remnant has been building our own vessels, ships designed to be undetectable by Veildar sensors. We've been planning to escape this system for years, but we've never had a destination that offered hope of freedom." Elena felt a surge of possibility. "You want to come to Earth?" "Some of us, yes. But more importantly, we want to help Earth defend itself. We know Veildar technology, tactics, and weaknesses. Information that could make the difference between victory and defeat." "What about the rest of your people? The ones who stay behind?" Thane's expression grew grim. "They'll face the consequences of our rebellion. But they've accepted that risk." "Commander, you have to understand. For most of us, the choice is between death as free beings or life as contented slaves. We choose freedom." Elena considered the implications of what Thane was proposing. Helping the Remnant escape would mean abandoning any hope of peaceful resolution between Earth and Veildar. It would also mean leaving behind members of her own team who might be saved through negotiation. "Where are the others?" "Arlen, Dr. Reyes, Dr. Chun." "Arlen is already with us. We extracted him 2 hours ago. He's helping to prepare our ship for the journey to Earth. Dr. Reyes and Dr. Chun are in different facilities, but we can reach them if you're willing to attempt a rescue." Elena made her decision. "Let's go." Moving through the Veildar facility proved to be an education in the society's fundamental vulnerabilities. The citizens they encountered were so conditioned to accept authority and avoid conflict that they didn't question Thane's presence or Elena's movement through restricted areas. The few times they were challenged, Thane's confident assertion that they were conducting authorized research was accepted without verification. "It's like they've lost the ability to think critically," Elena observed as they made their way through a service corridor. "That's exactly what they've lost," Thane confirmed. "The integration process doesn't just eliminate negative emotions. It removes the capacity for independent judgment. Citizens can perform complex tasks and solve technical problems, but they can't question the fundamental assumptions underlying their orders." They reached Dr. Reyes first, finding her in a research facility where she was being asked to analyze communication patterns from Earth's response to Elena's message. The linguist looked up from her work with obvious relief when she saw Elena approaching. "Commander, thank God. I was beginning to think we'd never see each other again." "We're leaving, Sophia. How quickly can you gather your essential data?" "Everything I need is in my portable storage unit," Dr. Reyes replied, gesturing to a device the size of a briefcase. "But Commander, the intelligence I've gathered here, Earth needs to know what they're facing." "What have you learned?" "The Veildar military technology is beyond anything in our databases. Their ships can manipulate space-time directly. Their weapons can target objects anywhere in a solar system instantly, and their defense systems can neutralize most forms of conventional attack." Elena felt her hopes dimming. "Are you saying Earth can't defend itself?" "I'm saying Earth can't win a conventional military confrontation. But the Veildar have weaknesses: their dependence on centralized command structures, their inability to adapt quickly to unexpected situations, and most importantly, their assumption that they're facing a primitive, chaotic civilization." Thane nodded approvingly. "Dr. Reyes understands the strategic situation. The Council has prepared for a war against Earth's known capabilities, not against Earth's potential for innovation and adaptation. As they made their way toward Dr. Chen's location, Elena began to see the shape of a possible defense strategy. Earth's greatest advantage wasn't its technology or military might. It was humanity's chaotic, unpredictable nature. The very qualities that Veldar sought to eliminate might be the key to survival. They found Dr. Chen in a biotechnology laboratory, where he had been examining samples of Veldar genetic modifications. The elderly scientist looked disturbed by what he had discovered. "Elena, we have to get this information back to Earth immediately," he said as soon as he saw her. "The modifications they've developed aren't just psychological. They're designed to be inherited by future generations. The Veldar are planning to permanently alter the human species." "What do you mean?" "The genetic changes they make during integration affect reproductive cells, as well as somatic tissue. Children born to modified parents will carry the same psychological limitations as their creators. Within a few generations, unmodified humans will cease to exist." Elena felt a chill of understanding. The Veldar weren't just planning to conquer Earth. They were planning to eliminate baseline humanity entirely, replacing it with their own vision of genetic perfection. "Is the process reversible?" she asked. "Unknown. The modifications are incredibly sophisticated, integrated into the genetic code at a level that might be permanent. Even if we developed reversal techniques, it would take generations to restore normal human psychology." Thane led them through increasingly complex routes as they made their way toward the spaceport where the Remnant's ship waited. Along the way, Elena noticed signs of increased security, more patrols, additional monitoring devices, and a general sense of heightened alertness that suggested their activities had been detected. "How much farther?" she asked. 2 kilometers to the launch facility," Thane replied. "But we have a problem. Defense fleet vessels are moving to intercept positions around the planet. If we don't launch within the next hour, we may not be able to escape the system." They reached the spaceport to find a scene of controlled chaos. Remnant members were loading equipment and supplies aboard a vessel that looked unlike anything Elena had ever seen. The ship seemed to phase in and out of visibility, its hull incorporating some kind of stealth technology that bent light around its surfaces. Arlen was waiting at the ship's airlock, his face grim with urgency. "Commander, we've got serious problems. The defense fleet knows about the Remnant's activities, and they're moving to lock down the entire system. What's our window for escape?" "Maybe 30 minutes before they can establish a complete blockade. But that's not the worst part. They're preparing to force open the gate to Earth ahead of schedule." Elena felt her stomach drop. "How is that possible?" "They've been developing gate manipulation technology for decades," Thane explained as they boarded the ship. "The normal 1,000-year cycle is just the optimal time for stable transit. With enough energy, they can create an artificial alignment that will open the gate for several hours." As the ship systems came online, Elena found herself in a command center that combined human intuition with Veldar technological advancement. The Remnant had spent years developing technology that preserved individual freedom while incorporating the best innovations of their adopted civilization. "Time to launch," she asked. "Clearing the spaceport now," Arlen replied from the pilot's position. "But Commander, we're going to have to fight our way out of the system. The defense fleet isn't going to let us reach the gate without a confrontation." Through the ship's displays, Elena could see massive Veldar vessels moving into blocking positions around the planet. Their elegant, organic curves belied the devastating firepower they carried, weapons capable of sterilizing entire worlds or precisely disabling a single target. "How do we get past them?" Dr. Reyes asked. "We don't fight them," Thane replied, his hands moving across controls that seemed to respond to his thoughts as much as his touch. "We outsmart them." The Remnant ship began to accelerate toward space, its stealth systems bending light and energy around the hull to make it nearly invisible to conventional sensors. But Elena knew that invisibility alone wouldn't be enough. The Veldar had technology that could track objects through space-time distortions and quantum signatures. "Incoming transmission," Arlen announced. "It's Admiral Kane." "Put it through," Elena decided. The Defense Fleet commander's voice filled the bridge, carrying cold authority. "Remnant vessel, you are in violation of system security protocols. Cut your engines and prepare to be boarded." Elena activated the communication system. "Admiral Kane, This is Commander Elena Vasquez. We are attempting to return to Earth with vital intelligence about your invasion plans. Commander, you are harboring enemies of the state and stolen technology. Surrender immediately, or we will be forced to disable your vessel. I'm afraid we can't do that, Admiral. Earth has a right to defend itself. There was a pause. Then Kane's voice returned with a note of regret. Very well, Commander. You've chosen your path. The first energy blast struck the ship's shields with devastating force, sending shockwaves through the hull that threw everyone against their restraints. Warning alarms began to sound as the ship's systems struggled to maintain integrity under the assault. Shields at 60%, Arlen reported. We can't take many more hits like that. Options, Elena demanded. The gate, Thane said suddenly. If we can reach the gate before they fully activate the forced opening sequence, we might be able to slip through during the initialization phase. That's suicide, Dr. Chin protested. The energy fluctuations alone would tear the ship apart. Maybe, Thane acknowledged. But it's our only chance of reaching Earth with a warning before the invasion fleet arrives. Elena weighed their options as another energy blast rocked the ship. Stay and fight, and they would be captured or destroyed within minutes. Try to hide, and they would eventually be detected and captured. Attempt to reach the gate during its forced activation, and they might die in the process. But they might also be humanity's last hope for survival. Do it, she decided. Take us to the gate. As the remnant ship changed course toward the swirling vortex that connected Vaildar to Earth, Elena felt the weight of two civilizations' futures pressing down on her. In the next few hours, they would either succeed in warning Earth about the coming invasion, or die in the attempt. Either way, the final confrontation between freedom and perfection was about to begin. The gate to Earth hung before them like a wound in space-time, its edges crackling with artificial energies as the Vaildar forced it into premature activation. Elena watched the tactical display as Admiral Kane's fleet moved into position around the portal, their ship's weapons trained on the approaching remnant vessel. Gate instability increasing, Arlen reported, his hands dancing across the navigation controls. The forced opening is creating massive space-time distortions. If we hit the wrong turbulence pocket, we'll be torn apart at the molecular level, Thane finished grimly. But if we can time our entry perfectly, the same instabilities that threaten us will mask our passage from the defense fleet sensors. Dr. Reyes monitored the communication arrays, trying to coordinate with any remaining remnant cells still active in the system. I'm picking up fragmentary transmissions from other resistance groups. It sounds like the Council has initiated planet-wide security lockdowns. How many others are trying to escape? Elena asked. Unknown. The signals are encrypted and heavily jammed. Another energy blast from the pursuing defense fleet vessels struck their rear shields, sending cascades of sparks through the bridge systems. The ship shuddered under the impact, its organic hull plating rippling as it absorbed and redistributed the destructive energy. Shield integrity down to 30%, Dr. Chun reported from the damage control station. We can't sustain this much longer. Elena studied the tactical display, counting the ships between them and the gate. Admiral Kane had positioned his forces in a perfect interception pattern. Any conventional approach would result in immediate capture or destruction. But the gate's forced activation was creating opportunities as well as dangers. Thane, what happens if we enter the gate while it's still stabilizing? Theoretically, we could emerge anywhere along the transit corridor, including places that don't exist in normal space-time. Thane paused, his expression showing the strain of maintaining the ship's stealth systems under combat conditions. Or we could be compressed into a quantum singularity and cease to exist entirely. What are the odds of successful transit? Honestly, maybe 20%. But the odds of surviving the next 10 minutes, if we don't attempt it, are essentially zero. Elena made her decision. Take us in. Full speed toward the gate center. The remnant ship leaped forward as its exotic drives engaged at maximum power. Around them, the defense fleet vessels began to converge, their weapons charging for what they clearly intended to be decisive strikes. Incoming fire from multiple vectors, Arlen announced. They're trying to cripple our engines. The ship bucked and rolled as energy beams lanced through space around them, some striking the hull with devastating force, while others passed through empty space where their stealth systems had created false sensor images. Elena gripped her chair as the bridge lighting flickered and warning alarms filled the air with urgent electronic screams. Gate threshold in 60 seconds, Thane called out. The energy patterns are unprecedented. I've never seen anything like this. Through the main display, Elena could see the forced gate beginning to tear itself apart under the strain of premature activation. Bolts of exotic energy leaped between the portal's edges while the space around it writhed with gravitational distortions that bent light into impossible geometries. "Commander," Dr. Reyes said urgently, "I'm detecting massive energy buildups throughout the Veldar fleet. I think they're preparing for the invasion transit." Elena felt her heart sink. Even if they successfully warned Earth, the Veldar military was apparently ready to follow them through the gate within hours rather than days. "How many ships?" she asked. "Sensors are having trouble with the gate interference, but, my God, it looks like the entire defense fleet. Maybe 300 vessels." The implications were staggering. Earth's military, even with advance warning, will be facing a force equipped with technology centuries in advance of anything in human arsenals. The United Earth Defense Force had perhaps 50 major warships scattered throughout the Sol system, brave and well-trained crews, but hopelessly outmatched against Veldar capabilities. 30 seconds to gate entry, Thane announced. "All hands, prepare for emergency transit." Elena activated the ship's communication system for what might be her final transmission. "All stations, this is the commander. We're about to attempt something that violates every safety protocol in the book. If we don't make it through, remember that we try to give humanity a fighting chance." The gate loomed larger as they approached, its unstable energies creating a light show that would have been beautiful under other circumstances. Elena could see patterns in the chaos, swirling vortices of space-time that opened and closed in rhythms that seemed almost organic. "Defense fleet vessels moving to firing positions," Dr. Chen reported. "They're going to try to disable us before we reach the threshold." 10 seconds to entry, Thane called. "The energy patterns are shifting now." The ship plunged into the gate, just as Admiral Kane's forces opened fire with everything they had. Energy beams and exotic projectiles filled the space around the portal, but the remnant vessel was already transitioning between dimensions, its hull phasing in and out of normal space-time as it rode the artificial currents toward Earth. Elena felt reality bend around her as the ship transited through spaces that existed outside conventional physics. For a moment that lasted eternity, she experienced the universe from the perspective of the gate itself, seeing the connections between stars, the flow of energy across galactic distances, the delicate balance that held space and time in their proper relationships. Then they were through. The Sol system appeared around them, like a familiar friend after weeks of exile. The sun burned with the warm light of home, while Earth hung in space like a blue jewel, its orbital platforms and defense stations showing the busy activity of a civilization at peace. But that peace was about to be shattered. "Transit successful," Arlen announced with relief and amazement. "We're approximately 40 million kilometers from Earth, well within communication range." "Emergency beacon activated," Dr. Reyes added, "transmitting full data package to all Earth Defense Force frequencies." Elena watched the tactical display as their emergency transmission raced toward Earth at light speed. Within minutes, every government and military installation in the system would know about the coming invasion. The question was whether that would be enough time to mount an effective defense. "Commander," Thane said quietly, "there's something you need to see." The rear sensors showed the gate behind them, still writhing with the energies of forced activation. But now there were shapes moving within its depths, the distinctive silhouettes of Veldar warships beginning their own transit to Earth. "Time until the invasion fleet arrives?" Elena asked. "At their current transit rate, maybe 6 hours," Arlen calculated, assuming they maintain the forced gate opening that long. Elena felt the weight of failure settling on her shoulders. They had succeeded in warning Earth, but the warning came with only hours to spare against a force that seemed unstoppable. "Incoming transmission from Earth Defense Command," Dr. Reyes announced. "Priority Alpha encryption. Put it through." The voice that filled the bridge belonged to Admiral Patricia Hayes, Elena's former commander, and one of the most respected military leaders in the United Earth Defense Force. Elena, thank God you're alive. We've been tracking your emergency beacon since it activated. What's your status? Admiral Hayes, we have critical intelligence about an imminent invasion from the Veildar system. A hostile fleet of approximately 300 vessels equipped with technology far in advance of our capabilities will reach Earth within 6 hours. There was a pause as Admiral Hayes absorbed the magnitude of the threat. When she spoke again, her voice carried the steely determination that had made her a legend in the Defense Force. Elena, we've been analyzing your data burst since it arrived 20 minutes ago. The technology gaps are significant, but we're not defenseless. Get yourselves to Earth Defense Station immediately. We need every piece of intelligence you can provide. As their ship began the journey toward Earth, Elena found herself studying the planet she had risked everything to protect. From space, it looked peaceful, its problems invisible beneath the swirling clouds and blue oceans. But she knew that beneath that serene surface, 13 billion people were going about their daily lives, unaware that their freedom, perhaps their very humanity, was about to be put to the ultimate test. Commander, Thane said, joining her at the observation port, there's something I need to tell you about the Veildar fleet. What is it? The ships coming through the gate aren't just warships. According to the intelligence I gathered before our escape, nearly half the fleet consists of integration vessels, mobile facilities designed to process Earth's population for genetic modification. Elena felt sick. They're not just planning to conquer Earth. They're planning to convert it. Every man, woman, and child on the planet. The Council's timeline calls for complete species integration within 5 years of successful occupation. As Elena watched Earth growing larger through the viewport, she made a silent promise to the billions of people who called it home. Whatever the cost, whatever sacrifices were required, humanity would remain free to choose its own destiny. The question was whether they could find a way to defeat an enemy that claimed to be saving them from themselves. Earth Defense Station hung in space like a massive steel flower, its rotating sections generating artificial gravity, while its weapons platforms tracked potential threats across the entire Sol system. As the remnant ship approached the station's docking bays, Elena could see the frantic activity of a military preparing for the fight of its existence. Squadrons of Earth Defense Force fighters swept through space in complex training patterns, their pilots drilling for combat against an enemy with unknown capabilities. Massive cargo vessels moved supplies and equipment between the orbital platforms, while civilian ships fled toward the outer system carrying refugees from Earth's most vulnerable population centers. Docking Bay 7 came the traffic control authorization. Commander Vasquez, Admiral Hayes is waiting for you personally. As they settled into the docking bay, Elena could see Admiral Hayes standing at the airlock with a small team of senior officers. Patricia Hayes was a woman in her 60s who had risen through the ranks during the Martian independence crisis, earning a reputation for tactical brilliance and unshakable courage under fire. Elena, Admiral Hayes said as the airlock cycled open, it's good to see you alive, though I wish the circumstances were different. Admiral, we have maybe 5 hours before the Veildar fleet begins arriving. How are our preparations coming? See for yourself, Hayes replied, leading them toward the station's command center. We've been implementing emergency protocols since your data arrived. The command center buzzed with controlled urgency as hundreds of technicians and officers coordinated Earth's defense. Holographic displays showed the disposition of every military asset in the Sol system, a force that looked pitifully small compared to what Elena knew was coming. Current defensive posture, Admiral Hayes announced, gesturing to the main tactical display. 47 capital ships, including 8 dreadnoughts, 236 fighter squadrons, orbital defense platforms around Earth, Mars, and the major asteroid mining colonies. Dr. Chin studied the display with growing concern. Admiral, based on what we observed in the Veildar system, their individual ships outclass our heaviest dreadnoughts by several orders of magnitude. We're aware of the technological disparity, Hayes replied grimly, but we have advantages they may not expect. Dr. Sarah Kim, our Chief of Technological Development, has been analyzing your data since it arrived. A young woman in her 30s stepped forward, her expression mixing excitement with apprehension. Commander Vasquez, the intelligence you gathered is extraordinary. We've identified several potential vulnerabilities in Veildar technology. What kind of vulnerabilities? Elena asked. Their systems are incredibly advanced, but they're also highly integrated and centralized. If we can disrupt their command and control networks, their individual ships may lose much of their coordination and effectiveness. Thane moved to join the conversation. Dr. Kim is correct. Veildar military doctrine emphasizes perfect coordination through shared consciousness networks. Individual commanders have very limited independent authority. Shared consciousness? Admiral Hayes asked. All Veildar military personnel are linked through quantum communication implants, Thane explained. They share tactical information, coordinate movements, and receive orders instantaneously across any distance. But the system has a critical weakness. It requires constant connection to central command nodes. Dr. Kim nodded enthusiastically. If we can identify and target those nodes, we might be able to fragment their fleet coordination. Elena studied the tactical display, beginning to see the shape of a possible strategy. What about their individual ship capabilities? Are there ways to neutralize their technological advantages? We're working on several approaches, Dr. Kim replied. Their shields operate on exotic energy principles we don't fully understand, but they seem vulnerable to certain types of quantum interference. We've been modifying our weapons to exploit those vulnerabilities. How many ships will be ready with the modifications? Admiral Hayes asked. Maybe a dozen by the time they arrive. Not enough to stop the entire fleet, but perhaps enough to create opportunities for conventional forces. Arlen had been studying sensor readings from the gate region. Admiral, I'm detecting increased instability in the forced gate opening. The Veildar may be having trouble maintaining it long enough for their entire fleet to transit. How long do we have? Hard to say. The energy patterns are fluctuating wildly. They might have 6 hours, or they might have 12. Admiral Hayes turned to Elena. Commander, you know these people better than anyone else in our military. What's their likely strategy? Elena considered everything she had learned about Veildar society and military doctrine. They'll try to end this quickly and with minimal casualties. Their goal isn't destruction, it's conversion. They want Earth's population intact for integration into their society, which means they'll focus on disabling our defensive capabilities rather than destroying them, Admiral Hayes concluded. They'll want to capture our ships and facilities intact. That gives us an opportunity, Elena realized. If they're trying to minimize destruction, they'll be constrained in how they can use their superior firepower. Dr. Reyes had been monitoring communication channels since their arrival. Admiral, I'm picking up civilian transmissions from across the system. Word of the invasion is spreading despite official security classifications. Panic? Admiral Hayes asked. Some, but also remarkable coordination. Civilian ships are evacuating vulnerable areas. Asteroid miners are volunteering their vessels for defense support, and the orbital cities are implementing emergency protocols with impressive efficiency. Elena felt a surge of pride in her species. Even facing overwhelming odds, humanity was responding with the same chaotic, determined courage that had carried them to the stars. Admiral, came an urgent call from one of the sensor technicians. I'm detecting spatial distortions near the gate. The Veildar fleet is beginning transit. The main display shifted to show long-range sensor readings from the gate region. Ships were emerging from the portal one by one, their exotic hulls gleaming with energies that made Earth's sensors struggle to maintain tracking locks. Counts so far? Admiral Hayes asked. 47 vessels and climbing. They're moving into formation as soon as they clear the gate. Elena watched the invasion fleet taking shape, each ship a masterpiece of technology that had taken 3,000 years to develop. But as she studied their movements, she noticed something interesting. They're not spreading out, she observed. They're maintaining tight formation coherence. The shared consciousness networks, Thane explained. They operate most efficiently when they can maintain constant communication with each other. Dispersing the fleet would degrade their coordination. Which gives us a target, Admiral Hayes said with grim satisfaction. If they insist on staying bunched up, we can focus our firepower. Admiral, Dr. Kim interrupted. I'm reading unusual energy signatures from the lead vessels. I think they're preparing to use some kind of area effect weapon. Elena felt her blood run cold. They're going to try to disable our entire defense force simultaneously. Time to weapon activation, Admiral Hayes demanded. Unknown. The energy buildups are unlike anything in our databases. Elena made a decision that would either save Earth or doom them all to a slightly longer death. Admiral, we need to attack immediately. While they're still transitioning through the gate and before they can coordinate their area effect weapons. Commander, our forces aren't fully deployed. We'll be attacking piecemeal. Better piecemeal than not at all. If we let them complete their formation and activate their area weapons, the battle will be over before it begins. Admiral Hayes studied the tactical display for a moment that felt like hours. The Veildar fleet continued to grow as more ships emerged from the gate, their positions shifting into the complex geometries of an advanced military formation. All units, Admiral Hayes announced over the Fleet Communication Network. This is Fleet Command. Execute Emergency Protocol 7. All ships are to engage the enemy immediately. Do not wait for formation completion. Across the Sol system, humanity's defense force began to move. Dreadnoughts activated their weapons systems, while fighter squadrons accelerated toward the invasion fleet. Orbital platforms swiveled their massive guns toward the emerging threat, their targeting computers struggling to lock onto ships that seemed to phase in and out of normal space. First engagement in 37 minutes, the tactical officer announced. Elena watched the display showing Earth's forces racing toward an enemy that outclassed them in every measurable category. But she also saw something that gave her hope, the chaotic, unpredictable nature of human tactics that had carried their species through 1,000 crises. The Veildar had prepared for war against a primitive civilization. They were about to discover that humanity's greatest strength wasn't its technology. It was its refusal to accept defeat, even when facing impossible odds. The battle for humanity's future was about to begin.